Welcome back to the channel. My name is Gordon Frayne and we're back with another video, another week breaking down the crypto markets from the past 7 days. This is the June 28th, 2024 weekly market update. So let's jump in and see what's been going on. It's been another choppy week in the markets with Bitcoin down ever so slightly on the week, down about 2% here around 2 p.m. on Friday, June 28th, 2024, sitting just above the $60,000 level. We did dip back below to the 58,000 level last week and jump back above that, but we're currently sitting just above $60,000. Ethereum is holding strong, just under $3,400. BNB at about 570. Solana back up at about $140, was even as low as 128, 129 just a couple days ago. And then the news that multiple different institutions are now filing for a Solana ETF. Obviously, that's not going to go live this year, but on the back of the news that multiple institutions who are already trading the spot Bitcoin ETFs have registered and submitted paperwork to get an approval for a Solana ETF is a bit of bullish news going on with Solana. It did peak up yesterday before drawing back 5% again today. So market has been choppy. We are down ever so slightly on the week, and if we jump over to the overall crypto market cap, again we can see that reflected in the numbers. We've gone from about 2.35 trillion this time last week to about 2.25 trillion as of today. So a overall dip back down slightly in the amount of capital in the overall market. Again, thinking about the current sentiment being more of a pullback with regards to overall price action as we move through this bull market would be my opinion. Again, this is not financial advice, but we are down ever so slightly on the week, as you can see, and I think we'll probably enter a phase of reaccumulation over the coming days. Jumping into the top gainers and losers of the week, this is a bit of a mixed bag. Once again, we're probably here about 50-50 when it comes to the winners and losers from the past week. So we've got Kaspa up over 22% in the past 7 days. Kaspa holding very strong as one of the most promising layer ones in this cycle. Akash Network up 20%, Aave up about 14%. Some of the meme coins performing well, like Bonk up 9%, Brett is up just under 7%, Injective is up about 7% as well, Solana up about 5.4%, Jupiter, the aggregator, DEX aggregator within the Solana ecosystem, is up about 4.6%, Toncoin is up 5%, again one of the biggest outperformers of the year so far. We've got the Decentraland up 2%, Maker up 2.6%. We've even got Axie Infinity and the Sandbox up about 2% as well. Moving into the red, though, we have seen drops in a number of different protocols. We've got Athena down 15%, Pendle down 15%, Sui down 12%, Lido down 11%. There is news that the SEC is creating a filing against Lido and some of their different services. So possibly on the back of that news, we're seeing that dip with Lido. Fetch Protocol down 9%, Near down about 9% as well. Ondo's down about 8% on the week. Singularity Net down about 8%. Uniswap down about 6%. Bitcoin itself down about 6%. We've got Shiba down 5%, Celestia down 5%, Ethereum down about 4%, and Floki down 4% as well. So definitely a very mixed bag, probably slightly more red than green here, but you know, very much a kind of 50-50 split here, with some of the different altcoins outperforming the market over the past 7 days. It's very interesting to see the tokens that tend to hold strong and even bounce back to the upside after Bitcoin has a pullback. So many of the tokens here are showing that strength and resilience despite the fact that Bitcoin dropped further this week. Jumping over to the Bitcoin dominance, we can once again see here that overall dominance trend is very strong since the start of 2023. Bitcoin has been in a very strong uptrend in terms of overall market dominance. It is down on the week though. We can see this big red candle here. If we go to the actual daily chart versus the weekly chart, we can see here that last week we were sitting at about 55.3% or so this time last week, and this week we're down to about 54.13%, as of right now. So hovering just above that 54% level. Again, nothing too concerning here, but it is interesting to see this dominance drop back down to the low 54% level. There is a bit of support here, as you can see, at this kind of 53.8% level here. It's tested it a number of times over the past few weeks. However, once again, if we do zoom out and look at the weekly chart, the dominance is still on a very strong uptrend. That trend has not broken yet, and again, we probably won't see a very strong altcoin season until this trend does break down ever so slightly to the downside. So speaking of altcoins, jumping over to the altcoin season index, again, we can see that Bitcoin is a stronger narrative as we speak. Altcoin score is only about 22 here, meaning that it is definitely not an altcoin month. And again, showing the Bitcoin dominance chart, we can see why it is not, because Bitcoin dominance continues to hold very, very strong. If we jump down to the top 50 performers, once again, over the past month, we have got a lot of red. We've seen a recent retracement over the past couple of weeks with the price of Bitcoin. Bitcoin itself is down 9.4% on the month, and many of the top 50 tokens have followed suit with even worse dips. We can see some of the meme coins like WIF and Shiba are the ones that actually had the biggest retracements out of all the top 50 coins here. We can see that Fetch, ICP, IMX, Arbitrum, Optimism, Render, VeChain, HBAR are all down over 20% as well. We can see the likes of Filecoin, Matic, Sui, Adam, Pepe all down around 20% as well. Some of the better performers, or the best of a bad bunch here, are the likes of Litecoin, Ethereum, Stacks, Cardano, Ripple, Maker, and Ondo down only between kind of 5 and 10%. And then you've obviously got some of the outperformers like Kaspa, Monero, Toncoin, Tron, and USDE. So again, you're always going to have outperformers. The vast majority of the top 50 are in the red, but we can see here that if you're holding Kaspa and you've been accumulating a bag, you would be in a very nice spot right now. Ton continues to be one of the best performers of the year so far. And again, if you're holding a bag of Ton, well done to you. Jumping into the crypto narratives index, once again, we can see here the different narratives that are performing over the past 7 days. We've got ordinals with the highest share of the narratives market here, followed by memes. Again, we know memes have been outperforming in general all through 2023, especially the latter half, and 2024 thus far. We've got NFTs, perpetuals, oracles, DeFi 1.0, layer ones, and the Bitcoin narrative itself as the best performing narratives this week. If we jump down, we can see, again, best performing narratives year to date. Memes still holding very, very strong here as the best performing narrative in 2024, followed by liquid staking derivatives, real world assets, identity, the Bitcoin narrative, and artificial intelligence. Again, it's always worth keeping an eye on these different narratives so you know what narratives the assets that you're holding in your portfolio are part of, and when they're having their kind of day in the sun during the course of the bull cycle. Jumping over to the Bitcoin spot ETFs, again, we've seen significant outflows really over the past 7 to 12 days, but we did see an uptick in positive net inflows over the past couple of days. It's difficult to see on this graph, but you can see that we had that period the week before last, and then we had last week with outflows every single day, and then this week we've seen a negative outflow day on Monday, but we have seen positive inflows with the likes of Fidelity, ARK, and IBIT beginning to purchase Bitcoin once again. So a very red series of weeks here, with the vast majority of days having outflows, but a bit of a positive turn this week with the past 3 days seeing net positive inflows to the Bitcoin ETFs. And again, a lot of sentiment around the ETFs is that now it's kind of being revealed that many of the people purchasing these ETFs are actually more like family offices, and they are not true institutions that have actually entered the space yet with large amounts of capital. It is likely we'll see those institutions beginning to come in over the course of the second half of this year and also into 2025. So very interesting to note that a huge amount of this capital that's flowing into the ETFs is not really showing the true capital inflows that we could potentially see from more of the medium to large sized institutional investors that are yet to start allocating capital to Bitcoin. So again, I would say that's an overall positive takeaway from the past few months of the first iteration or the first few months of seeing capital inflows into the ETF. Obviously, we have to wait to see what happens with those larger institutional investors, but we're seeing a positive turn here just the past few days with net positive inflows, and we will likely see this begin to tick upwards once again. Jumping into the cycle low multiple, again, it's always worth zooming out and looking at the big picture here, and that's exactly what this chart is showing us. It does show us the price action of Bitcoin in the lead up to and aftermath of the 3 previous Bitcoin halvings, as well as the most recent halving here denoted with the red line. So the blue line shows us the price action of Bitcoin in the lead up to and aftermath of the 2012 halving. The orange line showing us the price action of Bitcoin in the aftermath of the 2016 halving, and the green line showing us the price action of Bitcoin in the aftermath of the 2020 halving. The red line shows us our current era or our current cycle, with day 0 on the graph here representing the halving date, which we had in April of this year, just a couple months ago. So yes, we are just gone through the halving event. We did put in all-time highs for Bitcoin prior to the halving for the first time ever, but once again, if we zoom out and look at the big picture here, we do see Bitcoin putting in all-time highs in the 12 to 18 months after each halving event with a parabolic bull market cycle. And again, past performance is not always indicative of future price action, but if we look at the trend and think about the supply shock that is happening or that has happened with Bitcoin now that we just came through the most recent halving, we would speculate, and again, this is not financial advice, that we will see significant upside over the course of the next 12 to 18 months as we continue to move through this era 4 or this cycle 4 after the 4th Bitcoin halving event. So again, don't forget where we are in the cycle. You have the ability to, think for yourself and understand the bigger picture that is at play, despite some of the more recent market pullbacks and Bitcoin dropping ever so slightly in price. Finally, looking at real-world asset tokenization, again, as we saw, the RWA narrative is one of the biggest narratives of the year 2024 thus far when it comes to the entire crypto space. We are seeing an increase in tokenized treasuries and tokenized assets on the blockchain. This particular website, rwa.xyz, you can come over yourself, check it out. But as you can see, BlackRock and other institutions are beginning to create their own tokenized funds on the blockchain. They're beginning to tokenize everything from treasuries to real estate to stablecoins to commodities. And this website helps you track absolutely everything. We can see a huge uptick with BlackRock's BUIDL fund here on Ethereum, the top one in yellow here. We can see that they've grown it from starting at something like 200 million all the way up to over 481 million US dollars of tokenized treasuries specifically on Ethereum for them. And again, when it comes to the infrastructure and the networks that these asset managers are using to tokenize treasuries, we can see Ethereum making up the vast majority of where that action is happening, followed by Stellar, Solana, and Mantle as well. If we look at stable coins, again, we're seeing a slight increase week over week again of 0.13%, but we are also seeing Ethereum, Tron, Binance Smart Chain, Solana, and a few small others like Avalanche, Stellar, and Arbitrum making up the vast majority of where the stable coin tokenization is happening on chain. And again, commodities is also a new one that we can track here as well. We're seeing a slight dip in overall market capitalization of tokenized commodities on chain, but once again, Ethereum making up the vast majority of where the commodities tokenization is happening, with Stellar in the background as well. So again, this entire market is seeing new capital flowing into it. We're gone up to 1.77 billion in terms of tokenized treasuries. We can see a clear uptrend happening here with the amount of action and the amount of tokenization that is happening across all of these various funds on these different blockchains. And we are truly at the very early stages of the whole asset tokenization narrative and asset tokenization industry. It creates more efficiencies, more operational efficiencies, and more cost savings for institutions when they do tokenize assets on the blockchain. And we're going to be seeing a lot more of that over the coming decade. So as always, if you enjoy the content, please make sure to smash that thumbs up button on your way out the door. That was the weekly update for the entire Bitcoin and cryptocurrency market. We can see Bitcoin is back up just to 60,101 at the time of recording here, just as we're wrapping up this video. Again, in my opinion, we are seeing just more of a pullback here in terms of the overall market. If we zoom out and look at the bigger picture, we obviously understand where we can be potentially heading for the course of the next 12 to 18 months. As always, this is not financial advice, but do your own research. So smash that thumbs up button if you enjoy the content. Make sure to subscribe as well. We're dropping videos every single day on the channel, and hit that bell notification icon so you can get notified every time we drop a new video on the channel. And as always, we will catch you in the next one.